of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's doing well out there. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. It is Pushing the Limits. Welcome, everybody, within the ever-growing PTL family, PTL Nation. We appreciate you guys being here. And, of course, the YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show, the website, which is pushingthelimits.live, the Really American Network, which we are so happy to be a part of as well. And we appreciate you guys being here. Big show lineup for you today. Obviously, there's a lot of breaking news and a lot of stories that we are going to be covering today, including we've learned that a portion, like 1% of the Epstein files, will not be released. That's right. A judge has made that decision. We're going to talk about Trump wanting American history, but not when it comes to black history. We'll explain that in a little bit. Do you guys remember the huge controversy and speculation that Ohtani was betting on baseball? Do we remember that? And then this whole controversy about his interpreter who was making these massive sports bets. Well, the guy who's facing time in federal prison and could be facing up to 20 years, his name is Brian Bauer, and he's going to be joining us on the show. He was an illegal bookmaker who took billions and billions of dollars in bets. So we're going to ask him, is there any chance that Ohtani was a part of this? He's going to be sentenced here in a few weeks, so that should be an interesting interview. That'll be in hour number 2. But I want to start off with this story because I find it so despicable and so disgusting that President Donald Trump announced yesterday that he has ordered his attorneys to conduct a review of the Smithsonian museums, calling their portrayal of U.S. history too negative, and it focuses too much on how bad slavery was. That's a direct quote from Donald Trump. Trump also said that he would subject the museums to the exact same process his administration has conducted of universities, with the goal of making the Smithsonian less woke. That somehow that it makes it woke to share history on slavery. And a White House official also said that Trump plans to extend his review of the museums beyond the Washington-based institution, saying the president will hold the Smithsonian accountable and then go from there. Now, let me be very clear on this. Trump's post suggesting that slavery wasn't that bad might be connected to the fact that he talked about the restoration of monuments honoring Confederates, and that could be connected to renaming military bases to honor traitors who believed that it was simply just property taken away from them without just cause. I have a feeling that those are all connected together. Or when Donald Trump once said he didn't want black people counting his money in his Atlantic City casinos, he wanted Jews counting his money. You see where I'm going at with this? There are connections here. That's why I've always called him a blatant racist. He's no better than Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller just speaks out more on his white supremacy. This is despicable. It's disgusting. As I said before, and I say again, it was never Make America Great Again. It was Make America White Again. And the administration proves it every single day. I want you to listen to this interaction that Pete Hegseth had on Fox News when he's talking about rebuilding these statues of Confederates. And he says it's because we need to be proud of our history. Have a listen to this.
The Reconciliation Monument. It has been returned to Arlington National Cemetery following its removal in 2023. This is a Confederate monument. Many suggest it was designed and put in place to symbolize the reconciliation after the Civil War. It was taken away, as I mentioned, several years ago. Why was it important for you to bring that back to Arlington National Cemetery?
Because we recognize our history. We don't erase it, Will. We don't follow the woke lemmings off the cliff that want to tear down statues. we look at and learn from our history, all aspects of it. And so Arlington deserves to have, and we're grateful to the state of Virginia for partnering with us. It wasn't easy. We fought to make it happen, and the Reconciliation Monument will return to Arlington where it belongs to recognize the service of Americans of all chapters. So we're not tearing stuff down. We're done with that. We're putting statues back. We're putting paintings back. We're recognizing our history. We're restoring the names of bases as we've done across the country because we're proud of our history. As difficult as it may have been in some chapters, we're going to teach it, we're going to live it, and we're going to fight for it.
Isn't that interesting? Because on the same day that Pete Hegseth said, we're proud of our history, we're going to learn from it, but museums can't mention slavery. That's completely out of the question. So when it comes to slavery, no, can't touch that. Leave that out of museums. But when it comes to these statues of these Confederates, we're going to rebuild these statues because we need to be proud of our history. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Tell me that's not racism from the guy who literally has a tattoo that says 100% white. We know who Pete Hegseth is. We know who Donald Trump is. We know who Stephen Miller is. Okay? These are white supremacist sympathizers at a minimum. But I want you to listen to what Donald Trump said back in 2017 because he was striking a very, very different tone back in 2017 when he talked about the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump obviously saying something very different today, saying that he wants to get rid of all this history when it comes to slavery. But back in 2017, he was saying something very different. This is about 8 years ago. Have a listen to this.
Actually, what he said during that tour. Listen to this.
I had the privilege of visiting the National Museum of African American History and Culture right here in Washington, D.C. It's a new, beautiful Smithsonian museum that serves as a shining example of African Americans' incredible contributions to our culture, our society, and our history. It also tells of the great struggle for freedom and equality that prevailed against the sins of slavery and the injustice of discrimination. The work and love of the people who helped create such a masterpiece is a testament to the legacy of so many leaders it honors.
Yeah. I'm sure there's absolutely no reason why he changed his tone 8 years later. That was Donald Trump back in 2017. But Donald Trump today, nope, the complete opposite. Smithsonian museums, too negative about how bad slavery was. Keep in mind, I repeat once again, and I would tend to believe that there's some sort of connection between Donald Trump making the case that slavery wasn't that bad, restoring these monuments honoring Confederates, and renaming these military bases to honor traitors. Do you see where I'm going at with this, ladies and gentlemen? This is not some sort of coincidence. These are all connected together because Donald Trump and so many of his white MAGA base don't want to talk about slavery. They don't even want Black History Month. They don't even want Martin Luther King Day. There's a reason for that, because they're all called racists. That's why. Because when it comes to our Black history, and yes, slavery, sadly, was a big part of American history, Donald Trump and many of his doofus racist supporters do not want anybody learning about it, or in this case, that's what museums are meant for, learning about the negatives in history and the positives. And yes, slavery is a big part of American history, whether people like it or not. Doesn't mean that everything in our history was bad. It doesn't mean that everything America stands for is bad, but it was a big part of our history. And Donald Trump and his administration want to erase it. That should bother you no matter what the color of your skin is. Obviously, there are African Americans all over the country that would probably, I would imagine, be irate. We all should be upset. And if you're not upset at this and you don't call it for what it is, which is racism, and trying to erase parts of our history because they just don't want to talk about it. It's the same thing when, a jobs report comes out that is negative to the president. It's fake news. Let's have it go away. Let's fire the person and get somebody else in there and the fix is in. Or when he loses an election, it was rigged. It was fake. Or when a report comes out that he doesn't like, he calls it fake news. Or when we learn he's in the Epstein files and he just wants the story to go away. He wants the Epstein story to go away, just like he wants slavery and people talking about slavery. He wants that to go away as well because it doesn't fit his white supremacist narrative. But, this is a soundbite that I'm really just mesmerized, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised because Trump made an appearance on the Mark Levin show yesterday. And you all know how I feel about Mark Levin. He's an absolute disgrace who wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. By the way, if Israel decided to nuke every country on the planet, Mark Levin would still probably defend Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, you want to talk about somebody with literally zero credibility. But Donald Trump, in talking to Mark Levin on his radio right-wing echo chamber show yesterday, was talking about service and sacrifice. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The guy who dodged the military multiple times, who's never risked anything in his life and never done anything except for himself, is now talking about respect and sacrifice of those who serve. And have a listen to what he said about the war.
Worked with your friend Bibi. He's a good man. He's in there fighting. He's fighting. They're trying to put him in jail on top of everything else. How about that? He's nuts. He's a war hero because we work together. He's a war hero. I guess I am too. Yep. Nobody cares, but I am too. I mean, I sent those planes.
Did he just say he's a war hero? Did Donald Trump just say that he is a war hero? Did I get that right? So let me...
Because we work together. He's a war hero. I guess I am too. Yep. Nobody cares, but I am too. I mean, I sent those planes.
Unbelievable. Let me tell you who a war hero is. Obviously, anybody who serves in war, clearly, somebody like John McCain, who was a POW for 5 years. That is somebody who we would call a war hero. Donald Trump dodged the military. Donald Trump seems to support every step of the way what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing, who I believe is committing war crimes, and he sides with evil, murderous dictators like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and Viktor Orban and others. Donald Trump just called himself a war hero. What's the worst thing that could have happened to Donald Trump? A paper cut? He never served. He dodged the military multiple times, but the genitalia gobbler himself of Donald Trump, Mark Levin, of course, he sided with him because, again, Mark Levin is in a right-wing echo chamber who wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. I would say, Mr. President, how could you be a war hero when you never served? How could you be a war hero when you never risked your life for anything? How could you be a war hero where you dodged the military multiple times? How could you be a war hero when you side with evil, murderous dictators? That's right. Vladimir Putin has murdered hundreds of thousands of people. But Donald Trump feels like he deserves the Purple Heart. Donald Trump thinks he put up all this sacrifice to be president of the United States. Donald Trump has never sacrificed anything in his life other than his father's money. Let me be very clear on that. Donald Trump is no hero. He's certainly no war hero. He's a coward. And he's been a coward his entire life. You know who Donald Trump is afraid of? Women. Powerful and intelligent black women. People like Barack Obama, who Donald Trump wishes he was. Donald Trump is scared of anybody who disagrees with him. Donald Trump is scared of anybody who challenges him. That's why he always goes on the offensive with the name calling. Donald Trump is a weak, I was going to say little man, but we all know that's not the case. Maybe underneath, under the waist. But he is extremely insecure. He's a morbidly obese man who's extremely small. And, you know, as long as you coddle to his ego and praise him, he will be on bended knee for you. Look at what he's doing for Vladimir Putin because he looks up to evil, murderous dictators. The last thing I would call Donald Trump is a hero, certainly not a war hero, the man who, again, is a draft dodger and an adjudicated rapist and a woman abuser, a liar, a disgraceful human being. And no, I'm saying these things as fact, not opinion, and it's not because I have Trump derangement syndrome. For the people out there that have Trump fellatio syndrome, if you think this is okay, that in our museums in the United States of America, that we shouldn't be talking about slavery because that's quote unquote woke, then you might as well put on your white hood, or maybe you were one of those people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. You're disgraceful. You're pathetic. Speaking of pathetic, if I may, because I haven't brought up this name in a little while, I'd like to bring up Nancy Mace. That's right, Nancy Mace, the disgrace. I want you to listen to this appearance she made on Fox News yesterday because she sounded like she was on drugs. And by the way, she might be. I don't know. So on one hand, in this interaction on Fox News, she accuses Biden of turning a, quote, blind eye to Ukraine, and then in the next sentence, attacks Biden for giving too many assets to Ukraine, then pivots back to Biden for slow-rolling aid. I mean, it's mesmerizing. It's crazy. But then we know Nancy Mace is mentally challenged and she needs some help. Listen to this exchange she had on Fox News. She sounds like she's a little bit confused.
Russia invading Ukraine in the Donbass region happened under the Biden administration, and they turned a blind eye. They turned a blind eye to it. In fact, when the war first started and America gave many assets to Ukraine, there was a slow roll by Biden's State Department to provide assets and resources to Ukraine when the war first broke out. So we have true leadership in Donald Trump, and I thank him every day for his leadership both on the Ukraine conflict and his dealings with Russia, but Iran and Israel and peace in the Middle East potentially. I mean, he's just shown great leadership that when we are strong, when our country is strong, there is peace, can be peace everywhere.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Nancy Mace. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you, Nancy. Thank you so much. So on one hand, he didn't do enough to help Ukraine. On the other hand, he gave Ukraine way too much aid. Which one is it, Nancy? You seem to struggle to define what a man or a woman is, and you seem so threatened with transgender women using women's bathrooms. Maybe you should get a mental health evaluation yourself. Is it Joe Biden aided Ukraine too much, or he didn't do enough? Which one is it? I'll tell you my criticisms of Donald Trump now. He's not doing enough to help Ukraine, and he's siding with Vladimir Putin. And Zelensky is in a situation now where Vladimir Putin is saying, we want this land from you that doesn't belong to us, or we're going to continue this war. What the hell is Zelensky supposed to do? And Donald Trump is siding with the evil, murderous dictator, who is not Zelensky, who is a guy by the name of Vladimir Putin, who Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet for, which was a disgrace to this country. So here's what we are going to do. We're going to go to the YouTube Super Chat when we come back, where your questions and comments will be read. We will take your phone calls at 702-221-7283. And here is what I am asking all of you. Donald Trump yesterday making the announcement that he thinks that these museums are too focused on how bad slavery was. He doesn't think slavery was that bad. I want to know what you guys think about that. Is it just a coincidence? Or is this the history of who Donald Trump is? He doesn't want to talk about black history. He thinks it's woke. I want to get your opinions on that. Maybe some of you agree with him. Maybe some of you think that there's too much talk about black slavery in our museums. If you think that's the case, I want to hear from you as well. So we're talking a little bit about that. J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller embarrassing themselves in Washington, D.C. today, while all the protests were going on in D.C. from concerned Americans that do not want the National Guard there. J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller decided to not just attack the media, but attack the people that were peacefully protesting outside. We'll talk about that as well when we come back. We'll go to the YouTube Super Chat, and as I mentioned, we will take your phone calls at 702-221-7283. Take a quick break. We'll be back right after this in 90 seconds. You're listening to Pushing the Limit. All right, welcome back. Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. By the way, tomorrow to start the show, Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch will be joining us. So we certainly look forward to that to start the show tomorrow. Some other special guests will be joining us on Friday. So stay tuned for that. What have we been talking about today? Well, we've been talking a little bit about President Donald Trump saying these museums are too negative and too focused on how bad slavery was. Doesn't think slavery was that bad. I don't know. You guys tell me, is that a coincidence? Donald Trump seems to have a history of not wanting to talk about some of the atrocities that had to happen to African Americans in this country. Geez, I wonder why that is. As we go to the YouTube Super Chat, Alexa says, nothing surprises me about the administration and Trump. Please, somebody stop this man and his administration. Well, listen, that's tough. It's tough to do. But it's amazing to me, and I can't imagine if you're a black man or woman living in this country, how upset, but yet not surprised you must be. It's mesmerizing to me. It's crazy. And I just don't understand it. David, in the YouTube Super Chat, thanks, David. He says, I am blessing the memory of John McCain, as do I, David. I do that every single day. I might have not agreed with John McCain on everything, but John McCain was a good, decent man. Eileen on the Super Chat says, Cankles McTaco Bone Spurs said he was a brave soldier for dodging STDs. Syphilis would like a word. That's actually very funny, Eileen. Yeah, it's just these are crazy times that we're living in, and I want to get your thoughts on that. And let's get straight to the phone calls. Why don't we start off with Tyrone? Hi, Tyrone. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, calling from Baltimore, man. You know, the rat hole that Trump said the city is right next to D.C. I was over there for a job Monday, and just watching how the cops, people, they're just harassing young black men. It's ridiculous. And I'm looking at this like, this is a waste of money. I'm watching this National Guard stand around twiddling their thumbs. Absolutely stupid. But let me say this on the Smithsonian thing. As a black man, I'm not surprised because as I told, I have a couple of people that I consider friends that, Caucasian, they voted for Trump, but they're good people. They just made a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say all people who voted for Trump are racist, but all the racists voted for Trump.
Oh, there's no question about that. But by the way, it's not just about him, trying to get rid of history of slavery. As I mentioned before, the restoration of these monuments honoring Confederates, renaming these military bases. I mean, everything points to the fact that it's about make America white again. I've been saying that over and over again. Everything Donald Trump does is, at least in my estimation, is to attack minorities, to erase Black history. If he had it in his way, there'd be no Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There would be no Black History Month. They want to get rid of all of this Black history, and they only want to talk about how great this country is. And there's a lot of things about this country that are great, but it doesn't mean that we ignore our past, like slavery.
Right. And let me say this. Saying Trump is a racist is too simple, because he actually has no belief system. Whoever likes him, he likes what they like. So if 60, 70, 80% of Black folks say, oh, we really love Trump, he's great, he'd be all for Black people. But because the white supremacists and the bigots have sided with, have shown an affinity to him, he adopts whatever they believe. So he's even more dangerous than a George Wallace, who was an ardent racist, because he believes whatever the last person in the room tells him. And that's really dangerous to be in a position as a president. And let me say this, I'm not surprised, and it doesn't affect my day-to-day life if you remove some of that stuff from the Smithsonian, because all you do is force those folks who want to know to seek that information out unfiltered. So the only concern I would have is when he's gone from office, is that history reflects on him appropriately, which shows the demagogue and disastrous president and person that he was. And as I tell people now, I say he may not be a pedophile, but he's pedophile adjacent.
I agree.
So,
I agree. I think what we need to do is we need to put a picture of Donald Trump next to David Duke, and on the other side, Jeffrey Epstein. Because in my opinion, that's who Donald Trump is. He's a guy who associated himself with pedophiles, because I believe he's a pedophile himself. And he's a guy who associated himself with hate groups. That's who Donald Trump is. And we all know the saying, ladies and gentlemen, you are who you hang out with. Tyrone, I do appreciate your call very, very much so. Good luck to your Ravens, my friend, and I appreciate your phone call. Stay safe out there in Baltimore. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Chuck. Hi, Chuck. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. I'm calling from Charleston, South Carolina.
Thank you. What's on your mind today, Chuck?
Man, Putin has got dirt on Trump. There's no doubt about it. They had a video when he was with two Russian prostitutes, and that's when they was pissing on him.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but here's what we do know. Okay, Chuck. We know that Donald Trump has been siding with Vladimir Putin for years. We know that Donald Trump has taken the side of Putin over Zelensky. We know that there's something there. Now, it could be that Donald Trump just looks up to evil, murderous dictators. I certainly think that's a part of it. But I also do agree with you that Putin has to have something on Donald Trump. I actually think it's financial. I think it's something to do with money. Now, that could be real estate. That could be anything. I don't know. I happen to think that it has something to do with money. But what we do know is that Trump has been wearing the Putin knee pads for years. And I hope one day we find out why. We might never find out, but it's not going to help in negotiating with Zelensky in Ukraine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, man. I appreciate it. I love the show, Brian.
Thank you, Chuck.
I just hate the situation, brother.
So do I, Chuck. I'm with you, my friend, and I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much for the phone call. And I'm with you, my friend. I hate the situation as well. I hate everything. I hate what's going on in the Ukraine, where innocent women and children are being murdered. I hate what's going on in the Gaza situation and the Israel-Palestinian conflict, where innocent Israelis have died, innocent Palestinians have died. There are children that are starving to death. I hate it. I hate the fact that the richest people in this country are getting some of the biggest tax breaks in American history, while those that are living paycheck to paycheck and those that are struggling are getting hit the hardest. I hate the fact that there are so many Americans in this country, many of whom who are actually working, that are going to lose their medical coverage. I hate that. I hate the fact that our National Guard is being deployed out to cities in America when local law enforcement can handle it on their own. I hate that. And I hate the fact that so many good people in this country that might not have the proper paperwork, even some American citizens, are being kidnapped by ICE agents that are not even identifying themselves as ICE agents. And people are not getting due process. There's a lot of things in the first 7 months that I hate. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't think that it would be this bad. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Good afternoon, Brian. I made a request last week, and I'm hoping you can follow through in getting Lev Parnas on the show.
Yeah, I can get Lev back anytime. I'm friends with Lev. And
that would be great.
Yep. Lev will come back.
He has a lot to say.
Sure.
He has a lot to say.
Sure.
And the things he said that are coming down the pipe, you won't believe.
Yeah.
There was a video of a 6-year-old girl being swept up off the streets in D.C., along with her younger brother.
Why?
Because they were not white.
That's horrible.
I saw the video on YouTube.
Horrible.
As far as your question, what's our opinion on if Trump is a racist or not? Well, there are not opinions. It's really not an opinion. If people would just go to Mary Trump or buy her book, Trump used the N-word at the dinner table like we would say, please pass the salt.
Oh, I know.
Please hand me a napkin. He is a pure racist.
Absolutely.
Always has, always will be, because we knew that back in the 70s.
Yep. I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
Now here's something that you might not like, and you might not condone what I say. And I'm going to be extreme and radical on this. I've been thinking about this. And how long are we going to allow Trump to take away democracy? Because in 2028, when there's no election, we have turned the corner and we would be a fascist country at that time. And I believe it's going to happen. Now, I value this country more than his life. And I'm hoping that he has a fatal heart attack, because that's the only way this country will survive, with some kind of possibility that we do survive.
We would have J.D. Vance,
Trump in office,
but you would be comfortable with J.D. Vance?
J.D. Vance will not have the charisma that MAGA loves. They don't value him just like they value Trump. Trump is the key. And I don't think they would attach themselves to Vance like they do Trump.
All right. Well, listen, I'll say this.
Said that.
I'll say this, Mark. Obviously, if something happened to Donald Trump, I wouldn't shed one tear. I clearly don't condone any violence in any way, shape, or form. But I understand what you're saying to an extent. But I think J.D. Vance is, in my personal opinion, is just as dangerous. Based on his policy and what he stands for. Is he as brass as Donald Trump? Does he say as many crazy things as Trump says? No. But keep in mind that J.D. Vance is the guy that started the eating the dogs and the cats. He started that. I appreciate your call, Mark. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-SAVE if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Obviously, Donald Trump wants to get rid of Black history. And by the way, while all this was going on, Judge Richard Berman said the Justice Department did not overcome long-standing precedent to keep grand jury materials sealed, and noted that the information contained in the sealed materials in regards to the Epstein files is extremely small, he said, relative to the entire investigation file already in the DOJ hands. And by the way, that is in the DOJ's hands, Donald Trump and his administration can release today if they wanted to. There's a reason why they are not going to release it. It's because Donald Trump's name is all over it. All right, let's get back to the phone calls at 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Shelley. Shelley is next up on PTL. Hey, Shelley, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Why are we surprised anymore? Seriously. This man has been a racist his entire life. And why are we surprised that he wants to put back up Confederate statues and name military bases after Confederate soldiers? Why? I don't know what to say anymore. I really don't. But this man really pisses me off. I am so sorry. But really, I can't hardly take it anymore.
Can you imagine
I'm like you.
being an African American living in this country, knowing that your ancestors, members of your family, were slaves, and then you have Donald Trump, who's basically let's not mince words here. Basically, Donald Trump is saying, I don't want slavery talked about in any of our museums anywhere. They want to ban books. They want to ban books. They call them all DEI hires. They want to erase Black History Month. They want to get rid of Martin Luther King Day. It really is a disgrace. And then people say, Brian, where's your evidence that Donald Trump is a racist? If this isn't evidence, I don't know what is, quite frankly.
Brian, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, but because I know how you go off, but not on people like me, but, crazy people. But he does not want slavery talked about. He removed Martin Luther King's picture or bust, right?
Yeah, they removed it from the Oval Office, which, Shelley, in my estimation, is absolutely and positively despicable, and it goes to show you who Donald Trump is. It absolutely does. We go to the YouTube super chat where Fabi says they want to get rid of Black history, but yet when it comes to the Ku Klux Klan, it's no problem. What else is new in this Christian society? Well, I completely agree with you, and I agree with your sentiment there. I think you're 150% accurate with what you're saying. They want to get rid of all this Black history. They want to get rid of anything that could portray an African American and their ancestors as victims of discrimination in any way, shape, or form. They think that Black people as a whole have been treated exactly the same as white people. In fact, some of these people think that white people are the ones that are oppressed. How can you have a good faith conversation with somebody like that? It's insane. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kirk. Hi, Kirk. Where are you calling from?
Hey, calling from Maryland, Brian. Love the show.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. McCankle's taco tits. He ain't going to take our country down.
I hope not.
We just got to keep fighting. We just got to keep fighting it, brother.
Well, we do, and I think it starts with the midterms in 2026. It has to start there. I applaud all the people in Washington, D.C. today that were protesting peacefully against J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller meeting with some members of the National Guard. They really got to them, and I applaud those protesters for being there and doing that. And we have to keep fighting. You're right. We have to keep calling out what this administration is. This is white supremacy is what it is. This is a racist, bigoted administration that attack minorities. They attack people, the poorest people in this country, and they succumb to their rich friends and evil, murderous dictators. That's exactly what this administration is. I have evidence and proof of that, and I talk about it on this show every day. It's not an opinion, it's a fact.
Well, the simple fact is that you wanted to know, is he racist? Look at his mega band of followers.
Right.
90% of them do nothing but preach to white supremacy.
I agree with you. And it's like our first caller who was African American who made a very good point. It's not that everybody who voted for Donald Trump is racist, but every racist voted for Donald Trump.
But if you support him, you back that too.
Well, I agree. I think I agree.
You empower that message.
I don't disagree with you on that. I agree with you 150%. At this point, and he makes a very good point there, if you're still supporting Donald Trump at this point, then yeah, you are backing his racist policies. You are backing this sort of bigotry. I agree with that caller. He's right. At this point, if you're still supporting this man, then obviously that's what you support. And I don't want to hear, well, I don't agree with him on everything. That's like saying, well, I don't agree with Adolf Hitler on everything. You know, the man had style. He did some good things for Germany. I don't agree with the Holocaust, but I don't disagree with him on everything. Yeah, that's what you're doing with Donald Trump. That's right. I'm going to start making those comparisons now because I have had it with this guy. He has no regard for human life. He has no regard for women. He has no regard for human beings that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. He doesn't care if 15 million Americans lose their health care coverage. What would you call that other than an evil, murderous dictator? That's what Donald Trump is. Let's go to Nancy. Nancy is next up on PTL. Hey, Nancy, where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from Michigan. I had a question about, I've been seeing a video on a brown lady who's, I don't know, I think it's in Texas, that she needs to sign a paper and she's basically being forced to stay in the Senate House or the Congress or whatever. I haven't been following news recently, but I wanted to know if you knew anything about that.
I don't know a lot about that. I can tell you that.
But is it true?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of crazy things going on in Texas right now, as I'm sure you're aware of. They're trying to redistrict these maps. They're trying to cheat for the midterms. Greg Abbott is a criminal as far as I'm concerned. What they're doing to this African-American female politician there is a disgrace. She's a hero. They're not giving the aid that is needed for these flood victims and their families. Greg Abbott is probably as disgraceful as you can get. So I'll say that.
I'm just surprised and so how they can do this. I mean, it's so wrong.
It is true, but I can tell you that I don't put anything past Greg Abbott, and I'm not surprised. The gerrymandering, listen, it is beyond the shadow of a doubt one of the worst governors I think we've ever seen in Greg Abbott. It's a disgrace. So yes, it is true. And Greg Abbott can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. I hope he burns in hell. He is one of the worst human beings you will ever find. And while they didn't even count the bodies yet, they didn't even finish counting the bodies of all those innocent poor children that died in the shooting at Uvalde. Greg Abbott was still counting his money at a fundraiser that night. He didn't cancel it. That's who Greg Abbott is. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next on PTL. What's up, Ray?
Hey, Brian, I got a couple observations and comments. It's been over a week since I called in, and I've been listening every day. There's a lot of people like Herb to call in. I don't know how to classify them, but I have not heard one of them give you a legitimate answer about what the orange turd has done. It's good. That's number one. As far as the Smithsonian is concerned, that's a museum for our history.
Right.
Like George Carlin said about the radio.
Yeah.
You don't like what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Change the station or shut it off. There's two knobs. Don't go there if you don't like it. I have been in a air show in a tent with Tuskegee Airmen, shook hands with them. They are honorable people.
Sure.
You are my voice. I don't have the expertise that you do.
Well, I appreciate that.
I keep up the work, shut these idiots down, and be careful. Watch your back. There's a bunch of radicals out there.
I appreciate that, my friend. That really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. You guys will always have a voice on this show. Keep that in mind. Always. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next up on PTL. Hey, Jason, what's up?
Hey, how you doing over there?
Good.
Hey, I just realized and you got to realize this one thing now that I see why Donald Trump had all those tech pros there. Think about it. Now you could take that algorithm out when people want to know about Black history. It'll be so hard to find. That's why he had all those tech bros. And you want to talk about racism? They don't want to talk about Black history, but they want to put all Confederate generals back in. And so no matter what, we'll be reminded of slavery because no matter what, these morons are putting back Confederate generals. So what were Confederate generals there for? Morons.
Jason, isn't it incredible that when I called Donald Trump a racist to your typical MAGA supporter, they say, where's your proof? And it's very simple. Just look at his policy. Forget about even the things he said in the past and the thousands of discrimination lawsuits that he's had to pay out in New York. Think about it. Suggesting that slavery wasn't that bad, restoring these monuments that you were talking about with these Confederates, renaming these military bases. I mean, do these idiots think that that's just a coincidence? He has a history just by policy in proving that he has no respect for African Americans, that he wants to erase history when it involves slavery, unless it benefits him or his white supporters.
I got two more points to say. Two more points.
Yeah.
Number one, like that man said before, if you support Donald Trump on anything from now on, you are a racist. I don't care what you got to say. You're a racist. And number two, where are the black maggots now? Where are the black maggots to prove, oh, he's not a yeah. They all look like morons. Candace Owen and the rest, all morons.
Yep, you're right. Leo Terrell, Candace Owens, Larry Elder, who's done this show before. They're a bunch of clowns, Jason. I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you very much. And I agree with you 150%. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul's next on PTL. Hey, Paul.
Hey, buddy. Hey, I was going to call him that Texas thing that lady called about. So this is what happened. Basically, when those congressmen came back from being out for 2 weeks, they came into the chamber and they were required to fill out this quote unquote permission slip contract that they would get a police escort back to their house and essentially be under 24-hour surveillance until this morning. And then they would have to come back to Congress and be there for the vote for the gerrymandering. And what happened was Congressman Nicole Collins said, hell no, I'm not going to write that damn note. So they forced her to stay in Congress since Monday. Locked doors with security guards would not allow her to leave the Congress for 2 damn days. That's what happened.
Yeah, So I saw a clip where she was speaking to the former Vice President Kamala Harris, and Harris was giving, which I thought was a very heartfelt moment. And it goes to show you what I've always said about Kamala Harris. She's a good, decent woman, and I thought that was a very emotional moment. It's insane what they're doing out there, isn't it? It's insane, Paul.
It is. I'm gonna keep it 100 with everyone's saying, and I made a video today on YouTube. I'm going to say this. Everybody can be upset at the plantation owner sitting in the White House because that's what he is. Donald Trump is a symptom of a sickness in this country. He is a black light. And I understand that people want him out of there, but the reality is, Brian, that white people have ignored this issue for too damn long. If we would have stood up with Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and John Lewis, if we would have not sat behind our white privilege and done something then, we would have addressed this. We didn't have progress the last 60 years. We suppressed it like a dam. And this plantation owner came in and said, hey, Billy Bob, with your treat, people like Herb, little trailer park trash that want to worship their orange daddy. Hey, you know what? Take off your white hood and put on a red hat. Don't be a closet racist anymore. So even if he leaves, we still have to deal with this. He's a black light. It's like going to a hotel room. Donald Trump is the black light. You can take the black light away, Brian, but the racism is still there on the sheets.
Right.
That's what we have to deal with.
You're right, Paul. You're right. Great call as always, my friend. I appreciate you. You're right. I mean, members of Donald Trump's administration might as well wear Klan outfits if they support this policy. I could not agree with you more, my friend. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Frank. Frank is next. Hi, Frank.
Hey, Brian. Thank you for taking my call. I have a little bit of what happened. I saw vlogs on YouTube that Donald Trump is signing to ban voting machines. Now, how stupid is this man? I don't know. I'm sick of it. I'm sick every day.
Well, I think Frank, we're all sick. I get sick to my stomach when I have to watch the news and I have to look at people on the right that defend this guy. I get sick. I really do. I get sick to my stomach. So, Frank, I'm with you. We're all suffering with this, man, but we can't normalize it, and we have to continue to call it out. Let's go to Andy. Andy's next on PTL. What's up, Andy?
Hey, man. Sorry, I missed most of the show. Probably just got in. 2 points. First, 14-year-olds treated as adults in the criminal criminal justice system. Have you heard about that?
I have. Yep, I have. Janine Pirro's been talking about that. Yep.
Considering the Epstein situation.
Yeah.
And secondly, here's the thing regarding Trump. In my opinion, he's just a puppet. It's Stephen Miller who's scheming and just pushing out Trump with a couple of talking points. Because as you hear, he'll come out with a couple of talking points and then just waffle on about any old crappy thing.
Yeah.
I think Stephen Miller is the person that people should be more concerned
Well, I mean,
about.
he's used some of Hitler's language. Let's just call it for what it is. He's used very similar language. And Stephen Miller is probably the worst human. I mean, he might even be worse than Donald Trump. Perhaps the worst human being that ever set foot in the White House.
But everybody's focusing on Trump all the time. I know because he's the face of this establishment. But you know, I think more needs to be focused on people behind the scenes.
Oh, no doubt.
People are actually with the power.
I agree.
They're the people with the power.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree, my friend. I don't disagree with you at all on that. And I would say that there's a lot of despicable human beings that are working for Donald Trump, obviously Stephen Miller being one of them. I agree with you. But Donald Trump is the president of the United States. We certainly have to focus on him, but doesn't mean we can't focus on others. Let's go to Paula. Paula is next up on PTL. Hey, Paula, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, calling from Austin, Texas, and I appreciate the gentleman that did share what was going on with the Texas Senate. It's absolute embarrassment that they would not allow the Democrats to leave without signing a permission slip. But also I heard a statistic yesterday regarding the National Guard, and now that they're being deployed into various cities, the re-signing up rate has dropped. I believe this may have been the California National Guard. The percentage dropped from signing up at 60% down to 21% because they don't want to be patrolling U.S. cities. So that can definitely cause issues whenever we do have actual emergencies because we're going to have a weakened National Guard.
Yeah, that's also a really good point. It's not just what this is doing to citizens that are on the streets and people that live in these communities. It's also the National Guard. I agree with you. It weakens the National Guard. This is clearly not what they are trained for. And then you have Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance in Washington, D.C. Earlier today, making fun of the people that are protesting peacefully, calling them all old. Stephen Miller said these are people that are all over 90 years old. They're old hippies. So you have Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance that are making fun of a lot of people that just happen to be Americans, some of whom might be elderly. I mean, it really is a disgrace the way they are treating people all over the country, but particularly right now in D.C., that are opposing what the Trump administration is doing. This isn't about making America safe. This isn't about making Washington, D.C. safe, because he pardoned 1,500 people, almost half of those people, violent criminals, some of whom beat police officers, but they believe that was totally okay. But God forbid, if you're in the streets right now and you're a minority or you're homeless, these are the people that they are going after, regardless of what they've done criminally. I mean, I'm not convinced of that. They don't care about getting criminals off the streets. And by the way, a lot of the people that they have arrested are misdemeanors. They'll be out of jail within hours, but they don't want to talk about that.
No, you're right. They don't. And as far as rewriting history around slavery, I mean, that's horrendous. That's embarrassing. That's unforgivable. I watch a show sometimes called Finding Your Roots, and they will track back people's roots. And when they have a black guest on, they're unable to trace their family back. They find out that they were split up, they're slaves, their last name was changed to the slave owner's name, their children were fathered by the slave owners, they're shown as property on the census. Are you freaking kidding me that you would do this to a family and show them as property and break them up, and now you want to erase that from our history? It's shameful.
It is shameful.
Can you imagine going through something like that and then
can't.
having your country erase it?
I can't, and I am ashamed. And my heart, my dear, goes out to all these families that are being broken. And my heart goes out to all these people that are being treated unjustly because of the Trump administration. I'm with you. I hear your passion. And that's why, I love my listeners here, because I know the overwhelming majority of you are very informed, very educated, and compassionate people. Those are the people that I like to be around. And unfortunately, there's not many of those people, if anybody, within the Trump administration that is like that. And you're right, my dear. I feel for these families, and there's so many good people in this country that are being treated inhumanely like animals. And we can't forget that. I want to go to the YouTube super chat real quickly. And Lori says, all Americans need to look at their ancestry. They could have a percentage of African Americans or Native Americans. Oh, absolutely, Lori. Absolutely. I agree with you on that one, 150%. But unfortunately, a lot of these MAGA deplorables do not care. They do not care. We have a couple more spots open in the YouTube super chat. If your questions and comments want to be heard, you could also go to my website, which is pushingthelimits.live. Again, that's pushingthelimits.live, where we sell merchandise on there, and you can make contributions on there as well, and your comments will be heard live on the air as well. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Shelley says, does Trump think that black people will forget that they were oppressed and still are to this day? It is sickening. Shelley, it is sickening, but we're talking to a group of people that do not believe systemic racism exists in this country. So if you don't believe that systemic racism exists, then you're going to be totally fine with what Donald Trump is doing. Alexa says, this is all about making the white man superior over everybody. Well, I agree with you. As I said before, and I say again, it's not about making America great again, Alexa. It's about making America white again. 702-221-7283. Carlos is next. Hi, Carlos.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good.
Basically, if you want to know if Trump is racist, you just have to realize that we're living in 1930s Germany.
Mm. Well, if you had
everything that's happening,
yeah,
you could tell the pattern is. I mean, I'm not trying to mock the Holocaust when I say that, but if you just look at the pattern, everything is the same. I mean, Alligator Alcatraz is like the death camps.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans that's complicit are like the Nazis,
mm-hmm.
and Trump is basically like Hitler.
I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you. A year ago, 5 years ago, I didn't like it when people made those comparisons. But I have to tell you, I'm not going to say I'm going to make that comparison myself, but I will say I understand why people are making those comparisons. I understand, because if you look at some of the things that Donald Trump is doing, it's a dictatorship, it's an oligarchy, it's blatant bigotry, and he doesn't care. And it is in the early days of Adolf Hitler, with Donald Trump's verbiage and what he's doing. And if people want to say, Brian, there's no comparison. All right, well, look at Donald Trump's policies. Look at what he wants to erase from history. Look at the difference between the way he treats brown migrants and white migrants. Look at the way he treats people based on policy, white people and brown people. I mean, it's overwhelmingly obvious.
And also, don't forget.
Yeah, I hear you.
Don't forget also in 2017, when the writers were saying Jews will not replace us and blood and soil, that's from the Nazis.
Correct.
The Nazis used to say that.
Correct. You're right, Carlos. I'm with you, man. I'm with you 150%. I would have never been okay with that comparison even maybe 7 or 8 months ago. I understand why people are making those comparisons now, and I could defend that position based on policy alone. Let's go to Norm. Norm is next up on PTL. Hello, Norm.
Yeah, hi, Brian. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind today?
I just had to call, Brian. I'm calling from Canada, and I've been listening to your show now for the last few months, and when I listen to some of these magas calling in, I just can't believe how uneducated some of your people are down there.
I'll tell you one thing. They're not my people. I'll tell you that. They're not mine.
But I had to call about this fascist and about Hitler and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother is German, or was German, and she was there in the Second World War. My mother was about 11 years old when the Second World War ended. And then my father was in the Canadian Army. He met my mother over there. They got married, and we live on. But when my grandmother come over, she emigrated to Canada, and I can remember the story she used to tell me about how Hitler divided her people with hate and anger and everything. And like I've seen this come into America now for the last 4 or 5 years. Even when Trump wasn't in office, just ginning up the base and I don't know, it scares me. I'm even to the point where I'm thinking, with Putin taking Ukraine, Trump's going to try and come and get Canada. And we are concerned about that.
He has Vladimir Putin tendencies. He's a wannabe evil dictator who wants to rule the world. He wants to be treated like Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un. He wants to be treated like a dictator. He wants to stick his morbidly obese chest out. I mean, would you agree, sir? I mean, that's really where we're at right now.
Oh, yeah, no, hands down.
Yeah. I mean, he admires these people. Hey, I appreciate your call, my friend, and I apologize to all Canadians out there. I don't know how this idiot got into office other than the fact that we have a lot of idiots that live in this country. I don't know what else to say, my friend, but it's embarrassing. We go to the YouTube super chat. Immortal Suspects, thank you so much for your generous donation. Immortal says, I pray for the day when people like Pee Wee German, Stephen Miller, and Caroline Levitt get what they deserve. This is heartbreaking, what they're doing to us, disgusting behavior. Immortal, I agree with you, and I think there will be a place in hell for so many of these people in Donald Trump's administration, of course, including Donald Trump himself. I agree with you, Immortal, 150%. These are horrible people, bad people, racist people, people of hate who lie for Donald Trump, who lie for the 34-count felon every single day. While this country suffers and our most vulnerable people in society are suffering because of the policies of the Orange Man. 702-221-7283 if you want to be a part of the program. I can understand why the MAGA callers today are afraid to call in because you can't justify what he's doing with the Smithsonian. You cannot. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next on PTL. Hello, Carl.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Okay. Listen, I've mentioned this before. And in my background, I know these things that when whatever your parents' way of thinking is, and you're raised that way, 95% of the people follow that same thing. And Trump's father was an obvious racist member of the Ku Klux Klan, and you picked that up. You can't do anything about it. And today he's trying to erase any background of Black Americans, whether it's from museums or books or whatever. He wants to completely erase the presence that they ever were here. Like the people coming from South Africa who came, his way of looking at it is, if you're white, you're all right. If you're Black, stay back. They don't want anybody coming into this country unless they're pure white. As you always say, it's make America white again. And
Carl, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, Carl. It's exactly what it is. It's make America white again. I've been saying that. I've been saying that since day one of the Trump administration. It's make America white again. You're right, Carl, and I appreciate your call. Let's go to Aaron. Aaron is next up on PTL. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Sorry, I couldn't get into the podcast stuff today, so I don't know what the topic is, but I'm just curious. Like, I'm from Canada, right? And we're watching up here, and I'm like, holy crap, what the hell is going on down there? You know, you got Trump, he's going into Washington, decimating democracy, and people can't see this. Like, are they that blind down there?
I don't think it's that they're blind. I understand why you would say that. I think a lot of these people are very ill-informed and they're ignorant. I think some of these people are despicable and they don't care. I think that's another part of it. And I think there are people out there that, unfortunately, some that support Donald Trump, that support what he's doing.
Like, don't get me wrong. I am the right, but this extreme right's getting out of hand. And, all I see what's going on down there is all I can remember is reading the book 1984. right now. It's nuts.
What happened to the Republican Party? What happened?
To be honest, I'm not totally sure. I'm actually on Canadian with the Conservatives, but even that's getting out of control. You know, the racism. I'm First Nations. I used to be in law enforcement, but my PTSD keeps me from that now.
Right, right.
And I just don't understand how people can support this guy who's, first off, a pedophile. Second off, he says he enjoys law or respects law enforcement. He's proven he doesn't. Like, I just don't understand how people cannot see this.
Yeah, I
It's
don't.
crazy.
I don't either. I don't either, my friend. I'm with you 150%, and I appreciate you in those statements that you've made. Being a Republican and being able to call out what is just pure bigotry and hate. I do want to go to Inez Freeman on the YouTube Super Chat, who said, being a black person in this country is absolutely exhausting. The racism isn't surprising, but just exhausting. I'm with you, Inez. I'm with you, and I got your back. And I will always call this nonsense out for exactly what it is, and I agree with you. Let's go to Robert. Robert is next up on PTL. Hello, Robert.
Hello. Thank you for letting me have a chance to speak. As a United States protected citizen who's disabled, I wish to elaborate on some issues that I've been seeing. On LinkedIn, last year, I was caught up in what I consider a sting operation by MAGA and LinkedIn. They basically posted they basically gave me a feed of very discriminatory acts and language towards a disabled man, another disabled man who goes by the name of Joe Biden. I got banned for literally speaking out and asking why is this even coming up in my feed. I addressed it with LinkedIn. I addressed it with the people, and I'm the one who got banned. I've been banned for a year off of LinkedIn. I have not been able to find work because so many companies want LinkedIn profiles. I can't have a LinkedIn profile. I have this tied up in court. I have contacted Senator Warnock as well as his aid of labor, and I feel that this right here is another cog in this machine that isn't being exposed because of Donald J. Trump targeting Black history as a ruse, as a fog, while he's destroying the abilities of this country to be able to have a Department of Labor and a working and functioning EEOC. I don't know what else to do about it. I just want to bring this up. I want to put a spotlight on this because this is really, really hateful to people like myself and people who have empathy. But because of this guy, literally empathy is going down the.
Yeah, let make no mistake about it. Listen, when Donald Trump mocked a handicapped journalist, if you recall, back when he was running for office, I think this was in 2015. That's all you need to know about this guy. He disrespects people like you, people. I don't even like to use the word handicapped, people with some disabilities that are no fault of their own. He disrespects and he attacks the most vulnerable people in this country. They could be minorities. Okay. They could be immigrants. They could be people in this country that have some disabilities, people in this country that are poor, that are living paycheck to paycheck. Donald Trump only coddles to the elitists, and people like you are the ones that he mocks and suffers for it. If anything, we should be more understanding, more receptive to people like you. But instead, this is what we get. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy's next on PTL. What's up, Kathy?
Hey, Brian. I was listening to your conversation, and I think a part of this also has to do with classism. Because if you recall about the Constitution only applied to those white men who owned property. Women weren't allowed to vote or have any say within the Constitution, and Black slaves were considered 3/5 human. But now, if you look at the way that history has gone on, white people were always told by the elite that your whiteness makes you a little bit of a level better than what what black people are or what other minorities are. It's your whiteness that is key for you. If you've ever noticed, if you see people becoming influent, particularly people of color who become influent, and we have had cities in this nation where we had affluent people like Black Wall Street and what have you, and we were doing business within those our own communities. There were bigots that would always come and tear them down.
Well, can I ask you though? I agree with what you're saying. I want to ask you, what would be your message to those who are defending Trump when it comes to saying it's too negative and we don't want to focus on how bad slavery was in some of our museums? What would be your message to them?
My message to them would be, this is a part of our history, whether you like it or not. And until you actually reconcile your own feelings about slavery, about our history, Black history is America history. Until you can see that this is all a power play between the elites to keep you from siding with the poor people so that you could also have political power, we're always going to have this problem of racism in here. Because quite frankly, if you dig down, it is racism sells. Racism is a big selling point to people. And until people can organize and people can get together and say, you know what? The CEO who's making 300 times more than the people that actually are working hard to make that CEO rich, they deserve to participate in the wealth as well. Until you get people that will, band together and stop using race as a tool to divide us, nothing will ever change. We have to have a reconciliation in this country if we're ever going to have change.
Very well said, my dear. Very, very well said. I don't think anybody could have said it better. I could not agree with you more. I'm up against a break here. I do really appreciate your call. In the YouTube super chat, Britt Zerker says Trump is trying to norm slavery because they want it back. They want rich people to own anyone who is poor or a minority. I wouldn't put it past Donald Trump and his administration. That's what they mean when they say make America great again. That's when they think it was great. All right, so we'll take more phone calls a little bit later on in the program. But we are going to take a quick break. We're going to mix things up a little bit. And thank you, by the way, to Terrence Jones. Terrence says, hey, Brian, did you see yesterday where Republicans are wanting to end interracial marriages? Yes, I did. I wouldn't put it past some of these Republicans. It's so despicable and disgusting. We are going to take a break, but this is an interesting story. We're going to take a break from politics for a moment, but we remember the Ohtani scandal, the best baseball player and arguably most popular player in the world, and he was accused of betting illegal gambling, and his interpreter is going to jail. Well, the guy who actually took those bets from Ohtani's interpreter, who's also facing jail time, is going to be joining us next. His name is Matt Bowyer, and he's going to be joining us next on the show. Be back with Matt after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. As I mentioned, Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch will be joining us tomorrow to start the show. So we remember this huge story, right? And it was huge. It crossed over to news, sports to news. It involves gambling. It involves arguably the most popular baseball player in the world. Do we remember when Ohtani was being accused of betting and gambling on sports, maybe even baseball? Well, it turns out it was his interpreter that was placing these large bets. And the person we have with us right now, his name is Power. He's the author of Recalibrate Redemption Story in Real Time, from billion-dollar betting and Vegas high roller suites to 29 federal agents raiding his home. He collected billions of dollars in illegal bookmaking bets, and from one of those people was actually Ohtani's interpreter, and it made national news. Matt, I do appreciate you coming on. How are you?
Great, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Brian.
Yeah, there's so many questions to ask for you and congratulations on this book. But I want people to understand what you are going through right now, because you were raided by the FBI and now you're facing prison time. Is that correct? Can you tell people about that?
Yeah, so obviously I was raided October 5th, 2023, 29 FBI agents at my house and a dog. And after about an 8-hour, 9-hour search and, them taking everything out of here, here we are almost 2 years later. I'll be in front of the judge next Friday at 9 a.m., August 29th. And I'm looking at probably my recommendation right now from prosecution is 15 months in prison.
Okay, so a little over 2 years. How much money in illegal sports bets do you think you've taken over the course of your lifetime?
Oh, geez, $1 billion.
$1 billion. Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. Just him alone, he bet $326 million. So
Ohtani's interpreter.
Yeah, Ipe Mazahara, $326 million in less than 2 years.
I want to ask you about that. Obviously, I'm sure everyone's asked you the $1 billion question. Is there no doubt in your mind that Ohtani had anything to do with any of these bets at all, and he had no idea what was going on?
Oh, no, there's doubt. There's doubt, plenty of doubt, actually. But I don't have any doubt that he was the one gambling. I definitely don't believe he was ever wagering. The doubt that really remains, where only two people know, which is going to be, of course, Ipe and Shohei, the truth, is did he know and help aid in a bet by loaning him money and allowing him to use his money to pay the gambling debt or to continue to feed it? That's the part that's a little bit in question.
What do you think? What do you think the answer is to that?
My personal opinion is this. If you have, I'm sure you have a lot of great friends in your life and you gamble, you kind of gamble together. And if you're at a casino and, you run out of money and your buddy goes to bed and you have his chips, let's say it's, for argument's sake, $10,000, your buddy knows you're good for it. No big deal. You probably ask him, hey, I'm going to dip in for $1,000, or 2,000, whatever percent it is, not expecting you to take the whole 10,000. It very easily could turn into, as we know, chasing, gambling. You just wipe out the whole 10,000. Next thing you know, the next morning you go to him and say, look, I owe you 10 grand. I took it all. I was chasing the dragon. I kind of believe that in the beginning, this is just my assumption, that he allowed him to use some of the funds to cover the debt. And I think he just kept tapping into that. And I don't think Ohtani knew that he was going to wipe out $17 million, which of course is a drastically ridiculous amount of money. And, because Ohtani is so driven and so amazing at what he does and so locked in, people say, well, how would he not notice? I get that. That's a very accurate statement to make. But he had another bank account that was all for his endorsements that clearly was 10 times more than what he was receiving from the Angels back then. So I believe that Ipe was just tapping into the Angels' money, and that's clearly my assumption. And I believe that he was chasing the dragon, trying to win back the money, and it just kept getting worse and worse over time. And I just believe that Shohei just was focused on playing baseball. That's truly my belief. But
So
did he know about it? I
Yeah.
still think he helped him in the beginning. That's just my opinion.
So would you consider Ohtani a victim here?
Yeah, I do actually. To what extent, I don't know. I mean, because again, using my analogy, which I think is really important for this, if I help a friend out and I loan him some of my money, I'm not guilty of a crime. But if he takes all of my money and more without really my knowledge, then therefore I'm a victim in that case. And I think that's what's happened here.
Right.
And clearly, I never wanted to be part of any of this. I mean, I'm a greedy guy. I love money. I was running a business illegally. I was in the gray area. I don't deny any of that. But I never wanted to be part of a theft or a fraud or someone going to prison and even affecting the Major League Baseball for a little while. Thank God Otani went on to have the best season of his career, 50-50, winning the World Series, MVP. And I'm very happy that happened because I didn't want to be a distraction to baseball or his pattern.
And in this new book that you have out, Matt, you talk about the fact, listen, you're a father, you're a husband, you're a family man. Yes, you have been taking illegal sports bets for many, many years.
Right.
But what did it feel like? I mean, listen, my house has never been raided by the FBI. I hope that never happens. But like, what did that feel like for you? I don't know. Like, was your wife there? Were any of your kids there? And what was that experience like for you?
You know, there's no way to ever, you know, when there's things in life that we do that unless you go through the fire, you really don't know what it feels like, right? It's like anybody. An example, someone has cancer and they go get, you know, chemo and stuff. It's like you feel.
Uh-oh, did we lose Matt there for a second?
Matt? Yes,
okay,
sir.
we lost you for about 2 seconds. Go right ahead and start.
Okay, sorry.
Yep,
that being said, you hear me okay now, right?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. That being said, when the FBI came to my home and raided me, I was putting my 2-year-old boy in his car seat in my wife's G-Wagon. And I heard FBI freeze. I looked over at 8 red dots on my chest.
Oh, my God.
That was a tough moment because I knew that my life was changing. And then my wife was in the house. And, you know, looking at 8 AR rifles at your chest was a little overwhelming. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, my goodness. So they take you in. You have an idea of what's going on, I would imagine. Do you believe the Otani stuff is what put it over the edge? Because they were following you for a long time, right? Do you think this was like the breaking point?
I don't believe the Otani thing had anything to do with it. To me, it was all based on the Las Vegas, which you living there, you understand my name was pretty running pretty rampant in the last 2 years there because of this case.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth be told, the money laundering and all the money that came through casinos through illegal activities is definitely being, I'm going to say, honed in on right now in Las Vegas, which is hurting their numbers drastically. And because of that case that started with Resorts World, I believe that's what led down to me eventually, which is, you know, the Otani thing was just what came out of that.
And you've had days, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, where you've lost 7 figures gambling yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I bet 4.6 million on the Super Bowl in 2023 before I was in trouble, which is the biggest bet I've ever made in my life, by the way. But thank God I got lucky and won. But I've lost $1 million on, you know, sports bets many times. And tell you the truth, you know, getting high on your own supply was something I was very guilty of. I was definitely I was a gambler. I was in a casino almost every 2-3 weeks, really, on a private jet somewhere, going to these casinos, firing at the biggest levels in the world.
What is it like for somebody to have $4.6 million on a football game? Can you please describe what that feels like?
The dopamine rush is nothing you could describe, to be honest. I would describe it as the best sex you've ever had in your life times 10. Maybe even being on a roller coaster that is impossible, that flies into outer space, because the dopamine rush is incredible. There's no question. But, you know, people would look at me and say, you're an imbecile for putting that kind of money in a game. And I understand that argument. But when you're gambling at the levels I was, every bet got bigger and bigger over time. And in fact, if I never got in trouble, I probably would have bet 6 million on the next year's Super Bowl. Wow. And the point is like, it wasn't the amount of money. It was just reaching that level of making the game overwhelmingly exciting. And sadly, you know, for a guy who loves gambling and has an addiction to it, you just want to bet more, because if you bet less than you did before, then it isn't quite meeting that, you know, dopamine rush that you're looking for. At least in my case, I'm speaking for myself.
Right. No, understood. So if you don't mind me asking, you're a guy with means, right? You've got a nice house, a beautiful family, but like, what are they doing to you financially? Because what did they do to your bank account? What did they do to the money that you have?
You know, I paid every dollar in restitution or in full before I've even seen the judge, which happens less than 1% of the time.
Wow.
I took a home loan on my property. I paid 1.6 and change, just under 1.7 million. And so I've paid them in full. That was the charges and fines and penalties and everything. So in truth, I'm cleared with them. And
good for you.
The reality is, though, is that I don't make the money I used to. So now, you know, keeping my lifestyle in order and trying to, you know, keep afloat kids in schools. And, you know, I got rid of all the fancy cars and the Rolls Royce and Bentleys. That stuff's all gone. I don't even care about that. That's material things. But I'm just trying to maintain a normal good lifestyle for my family, really.
So I'm trying to understand, like, if I was ever put in a situation like this, like, what do you say the day that you go to prison? The last time you see your wife, I mean, obviously, I would imagine your family's going to be able to visit you, but like, what do you say to your wife? Like the day you go, what have you thought about that in your mind? Like, what am I going to say to my family when I have to say goodbye to them? Like, what?
Yeah, it definitely crossed my mind every which way, right? That's why I barely sleep anymore. The anxiety level is very high. Going to prison would be 10 times easier on me if I didn't have children or a wife. Knowing that they're going to be okay and I've got them covered financially with our mortgage and home and all that it makes me feel better. But being present as a father, that's the biggest failure I've ever had in my life to this point of 50 years is like not being able to provide and protect and be available. So that's actually the biggest failure I've ever had in my life, and no matter all the falls I've had. So that's the struggle. But I just tell her, well, obviously we have a great relationship. We have a really good family, and it's a bump in the road that we have to learn. My thing about my book, and Recalibrate's the name of the book, it's on Amazon, is to show mindset, show the strength of when you have adversity, you have to overcome it. The reason I've made the money I've made in my lifetime is because of that, is my mindset and my ability to fall and get back up. And it's something I talk about in my book drastically because, I was the largest retail commodity trader in the world for 11 years. Everything I've done, I've been number one or, very successful at. So I'll come out, I'll overcome this adversity. There's no question. It's going to be a little harder being a 50-year-old felon. And I can't get a state license and there's going to be some challenges, but it's nothing I can't handle.
It's my understanding that there might be a movie in the works. Can you share any of that?
Yeah, so I have a script offer right now. I haven't signed anything there. I do have an agency. WME is my agent. I'm currently filming the documentary, the sizzle for a documentary, hoping to get on Netflix. Obviously, my book was rolled out a few days ago. I've already sold 1,000 copies in the first 24 hours, which is nice because I'm not really promoting it. And, don't even know how to promote it. I'm learning all this stuff. I self-published it. But I'm just attacking everything like I always do. Head down, push everything out myself, and just be myself and be transparent.
Yeah, I think that's really all you can do. Going back to this book, how can people get their hands on it? I think you said you can get it on Amazon, right? Just tell people a little bit more about how they can buy this book and one of the main reasons why you decided to write it.
Yeah, great question. The main reason I decided to write it was because the minute the FBI came to my home, I knew my life was changing drastically. And everyone's told me for the last 30 years, all the things I've done. I mean, front row, backseat with Andrea Bocelli, private concerts, Blake Shelton, on stage with them, and playing golf with Charles Barkley, Travis Kelce, and the American Century Championships, and gambling at the highest levels in the world with billionaires across Monte Carlo, and all these things I've done, which are all in my book. The truth is, I wanted to get that story out there and leave my kids some sort of legacy of, there's been some tarnish to it because of what I'm going through, but, there's been some great events and things that I've done that most people will never do. That being said, I wrote the book immediately and finally was able to put it out, which took me a while because I wanted to get it right and tell the whole story all the way to this date, which is where I leave it. And it's on Amazon right now under Matthew Boyer Recalibrate. And you can also go to MatthewBoyer.com and get a personal signed copy on my website as well.
Well, Matt, I'll say this in your defense. I mean, I'll just give an example. You might be spending a couple of years in jail, it appears, but yet we have a former football player here, as you know, who killed an innocent young woman and her dog going 150 miles an hour. He's only spending a couple of years in jail. I'm not defending what you've done, but I'm saying that there is it seems to be an unfairness in our justice system in a lot of different categories. And I think you going to jail for a couple of years, but a drunk driver killing somebody, not spending the amount of jail time that you're going to be spending, I guess that's my last question for you. I just think that's completely unfair.
Well, I appreciate your viewpoint. I'll second that. But the one thing I try to do now is, as opposed to saying poor me and, point the finger at the system, even though I disagree with a lot of the laws, I did know what the law I was breaking, and I knew the risk and exposure I put myself under. I may not have calculated being, in prison and leaving my family, and that's something I should have done. So rather than blame the system, which I totally agree with you, by the way, I just look in the mirror and own it myself and say, you know what, it's not poor me. I'm not a victim. I got to go handle this. I got to show my children how strong I am and overcome it and just come out bigger and stronger and do something legal. I had many opportunities to change my course and do something professionally on the legal side. But to your answer, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Understood. Well, I wish you good luck with this book, Recalibrate. I certainly appreciate your honesty, and love to have you on again, maybe when you have a little bit more time. I'd love to do it. I know you got another interview coming up here, Matt, but I really do appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much for joining us, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on your show. It's amazing, and I would love to be back on it, and maybe we could do it after I see the judge, or maybe when I get out of prison.
Happily to do both with you, Matt. I appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wish you the best.
Thank you. That's Matt Boyer, everybody. His new book, Recalibrate. Listen, did he break the law? Yes. Did he take over $1 billion in illegal sports bets? Yes. Were some lives ruined financially because of it? Yes. He didn't force anybody to make those bets. We know that gambling is an addiction. We know that gambling breaks up families. We know that it's an issue. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be going to jail for a little bit of time. But what I am saying is we have, in my personal opinion, going back to politics, I look at Donald Trump and I look at what he's done in his life. I think Donald Trump is far more worse as a criminal than this guy. I do find that interesting what he said, though, about Otani, that, Otani is a victim, but he probably knew a little bit about what was going on with his interpreter. I did find that a little bit interesting. But that's got to be tough. I mean, this is a guy who, in a few weeks after he gets sentenced, has got to say goodbye to his wife and his kids. I would assume they'll be able to visit him, but very difficult situation. And I think our justice system is unfair. Again, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that there are people out there that have committed far worse crimes. I mentioned Henry Ruggs as being one of them. He killed an innocent young girl. How old was she? She was like 21, I think. She was in her early 20s, going 150 miles an hour drunk. He's already out of jail. There's speculation that he might be back in the NFL. You're telling me that guy doesn't deserve more jail time than Matt? You're wrong. At times, I call it the injustice system. And I believe that's what we see in America every single day. And going back to what we were talking about earlier with Donald Trump, there's too many injustices out there. I'm not saying Matt doesn't deserve to pay the price. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that there are way too many inconsistencies out there for people that commit some atrocious, horrible crimes. And yes, I'm just using Henry Ruggs as an example, or Donald Trump as an example, or a guy like a Steve Bannon, for example, or people that are in the Epstein files and Donald Trump refuses to release them. I don't care whether it's a Republican or a Democrat in the Epstein files. I don't care. I want people held to account whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. And that is the fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats today. Democrats today are saying, if Bill Clinton's in there, if Democrats are in there, release the files. But Republicans are now saying, no, just because Trump's in the Epstein files doesn't mean he committed any crimes. Give me a break. If you care more about your party than you do about victims of sexual assault, in this case, teenagers, then you are sick. And those people are the ones that belong in Alligator Alcatraz. Those are the people that belong in jail, not people like Matt. Pedophiles, rapists, people like Donald Trump. People like Donald Trump. Henry Ruggs killed a 23-year-old woman. Matt took illegal sports bets and I would assume didn't pay taxes on it. Doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to pay the price. Our justice system is the injustice system, ladies and gentlemen. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We'll finish up the show here, the last 15, 20 minutes or so, and I will take your phone calls. As I mentioned, Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch will be joining us tomorrow to start the program. You're not going to want to miss that. Leonard Cardinale will be my co-host in studio tomorrow as well. Kathy, going back to the YouTube Super Chat. Kathy, thank you so much for your donation. Says, elites like Trump feel if folks of all races, genders unite, our collective strengths would shift the am I even pronouncing this word right? Of wealth in this country. So they divide us by pitting us against one another. Dr. King wrote about this. Yes, he did. And guess what? MAGA Republicans do not even want Martin Luther King Day. They don't want Black History Month. They don't want Pride Month. It's disgusting and despicable. We're going to Kevin. Kevin is next up on PTL. Hey, Kevin, thanks for waiting on hold. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. First off, I wanted to open my home to you and Robbie one of these days. There's always an open invite to you guys. I'd love to collab with you guys. I live 7 minutes from Mar-a-Lago, so I'm in tune. So if you guys ever want to come down to South Florida, I'd love to collab with you. I can get you in with the local group here. I have access to the Trump baby balloon. But I'm being serious.
I love that balloon, by the way. I love it.
But that's a whole different subject. But you're talking about the whitewashing of history of of the racism in this country. Unfortunately, this country was founded and profited off racism. Trump what he did was he tapped into the ugliness of this country and gave it a platform. And basically, what I call it MAGA is the modern day version of the Archie Bunker era. Rush Limbaugh was the original MAGA. And, back then they at least used dog whistles. I remember I grew up here in South Florida since 1977, and, the AM station here is a right-wing station, WIOD 610. It's a fascist, station that's always been around since the 80s, with a duck or Clay and Buck or those knuckleheads or whatever. They're on that show.
Buck Sexton and Clay Travis are some of the worst people on earth. Oh,
yeah. So, where I'm going with this is that the conservatives took the long game. When we elected Barack Obama, our first black president, they started localizing everything from the mayors to everything, and it took over 10 years. But look, they've won, Brian. Unfortunately, they took the long game. Conservatives sat out elections for many, many years because they were mad at the Republican Party. Now Trump has given them the white Christian nationalist utopia they've always wanted, as well as dismantling government. He's killed 2 or 3 birds with one stone with Trump, right? And again, if Trump left tomorrow, okay, I still firmly believe there's no putting toothpaste back in the tube. The damage that this man has done. And I talked to you last week about it. With the Democratic Party, they are oarless, with no oars in the boat, floundering with no direction. I mean, I told you before, they ran the same playbook that Trump is a bad man and lost. I mean, that's what scares me, is that we have an opportunity to hopefully stop the bleeding, even though it's a little bit of a Band-Aid, to stop the bleeding in a year and a half, whatever it is at the time. And I just don't know. I'm hoping America woke up. But the thing is, though, is the Cuban community down here, they want to be accepted in the Venezuelans. They want to be accepted by the white man so bad that they vote against their best interest. And that's the thing, is the Latin vote. Yes, the Democratic Party has taken minority votes for granted. Okay. But, where are these Latins going to be? Where are they sitting right now? Is my question, because they are part of the biggest difference. And the other flip side of the coin is the black community. The men stood home. Black women came out in groves to vote, but the black men were mad that Kamala Harris was married to a white Jewish man.
Correct. Yep.
And so Brian, again, my home is open to you and Robbie. If you guys ever want to come down, I would love to.
I would assume you're talking about. I would assume you're talking about Robbie Road Steamer. I would assume.
Yes, I would. I'd be an honor to collab with both of you. I mean, we can go by boat or by truck by Mar-a-Lago, and maybe do whatever you guys want to do.
What's funny?
You
know what's funny? Like, I haven't been to Florida in a long time, and the guys from the PBD podcast invited me to do their show because I guess it's in Florida. And I said, well, I'm not going to fly down there to do the show. Can we do it virtually? And they said, no, you have to come here. But if I do go to Florida, I'll kill 2 birds with one stone. And I'll do the PBD podcast, and then, shoot me an email, brother, and I'll hit you up.
Brian, listen, to eternity, because, you and Robbie and you guys are a lot younger than me, man. You guys are the future of the sane Americans in this country. And I'm hoping that, I'm hoping that your podcast will, even if we change 2 or 3 votes to somebody that sat at the election, at least we're moving in the right direction. And hats off to you, my brother.
Well, thank you for the phone call, my friend. That means a lot. I appreciate you, and I'm so glad that there are people like you out there. And I'm honored that people like you out there listen to this show. I really am. I say this every single day, and I mean it. idiots like Sean Hannity will say it, just to kiss ass, but I really mean it. Overwhelmingly, the people that listen to this show that are part of the PTL family are really good people and informed people and compassionate people. This is what America should look like. I really mean that. The people that listen to this show, all colors in the crayon box, people all over the country and all over the world that call into this show, I hear it in your voice. Passionate people of empathy that care about your fellow man and woman. I hear it in your voices, and I'm just very humbled. The listenership that has grown here with PTL. And I love you guys for that. So thank you, sir. And you know what? If I ever do get out there to Florida with Robbie Roadsteamer, I'll let you know. I'm going to meet him in person in December. We're going to hang out. So I will let you know. And that is true, by the way. The PBD podcast did invite me on their show. And I was talking with the producer. I was talking to Patrick Bet-David, too, because I'd gotten into it with their side piece co-host, as I like to call him. I like to call him The Situation. Or I called him, what did I call him on the Pierce Morgan show? I called him Jersey Shore, yeah. And he freaked out on me. And I guess they wanted me to come on and have an all-out, duke-it-out debate with him, which I more than gladly would do, even though his veins would pop out of his neck. But I'm not going to just fly down to Florida to do a podcast, take the day off from work, and then come back. Sorry, I'm not going to do that. If I ever go down to Florida to take a vacation, or if Donald Trump invites me to Mar-a-Lago to check out some classified documents, maybe I'll fly out there. But if Ron DeSantis invites me to get a signed white boot, maybe I would consider it. But in all seriousness, I'm not going to fly out there to Florida just to do a podcast. I don't care if it's Joe Rogan. No, I'm not going to do it. Number to call, by the way, is 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Lori on the YouTube Super Chat says the NFL should ban the player who killed the young lady and should have more time in jail. Money talk. Yeah, Lori, I agree with you. I've been talking about that Henry Ruggs case, not just because it's a local story, but it became a national story. You're driving 150 miles an hour, drunk off your ass, and you kill an innocent 23-year-old woman and her dog, and he had a weapon on him. He should be in jail for the next 20 years. And on good behavior, okay, maybe 10 years. The fact that he is already out is disgraceful. And it goes to show you it doesn't really matter what the color of your skin is. If you have a lot of money, you get a slap on the wrist. Look at Bill Cosby. How many women did he rape? He's a free man right now. It sickens me. 702-221-7283. Let's go to the MAGA Destroyer. It wouldn't be a show without Darlene. Hey, Darlene, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, I'm going to say two things real quick. First of all, I want to tell all the black people out there, you are beautiful and you matter, and I will always have your back. Now, the second thing, Brian, I want to tell you, it's funny as hell. Anyway, when Trump had the meeting with President Zelensky and all the presidents, and then he went out and left for 40 minutes to call Putin, they said that all of the presidents in there were talking French and talking about how bad he stunk. Mm-hmm. And that was on the Midas Touch Substack, so I know it's real.
Well, I mean, I've heard he doesn't smell very good. I guess I'll leave it at that. I don't know. Maybe he had an accident in his diaper. But, they always want to talk about Joe Biden being in the bunker and, they'll make fun of Joe Biden. But Donald Trump can't even walk anywhere near a straight line. Can you imagine if Donald Trump had a DUI check at a checkpoint and had to take a DUI test and officer said, walk in a straight line? Donald Trump would be in jail if he was a regular everyday moron. He would be in jail right now. You'd think he was drunk all the time. Darlene, I always love hearing from you, my girl. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. And again, the number to call is 702-221-7283 if you want to be a part of the program. Let's go to Brett. Brett is next up on PTL. Hey, Brett, what's going on?
Hey, what's happening, Brian? Yeah, that Trump has a loaded diaper. I mean, when they have to put it down a blanket and Fox News on that white sofa, yeah, he's got a load. But I'm really close. If you ever get down here, I have a guest house at my place, and I'm like less than a mile from Mar-a-Lago. You're always welcome.
You're less than a mile from Mar-a-Lago, so you have to drive by that place almost every day.
No, it's close to the beach. It's
Okay.
like it's not like it's kind of a destination spot, and it's not where I go to the beach because there's like really no public beaches over there. But
what the hell is
yeah, I'm
wrong
really
with that?
close.
What the hell is wrong with that state? You got Matt Gaetz in there. You got some real shady people that are working in government there. You got Ron DeSantis and his corrupt wife in there. I mean, there are some real
there's
classic
a lot of
idiots.
screwballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely loaded with idiots. But my neighborhood, it's all Spanish, and yeah, it's amazing. We've had this conversation before. That there's a lot of them. Like your last caller said, that they want to fit in so bad that they will support him and go in the direction of Trump. And they have Spanish stations that just push propaganda for Trump all day, saying how much he loves them. And, I hear it in the background. They listen to it in the house next door to me all the time. And it blows my mind. My neighbors even support them. And, they're good people. And I think that the propaganda has got the best of them. But, yeah, I just want to say, I'll shoot you an email, and you could always crash at my place too. And I'm a pretty good cook. As you can always hear, I'm chopping in the
Well, I
background.
appreciate that, my friend. Get some of those Florida oranges in there. We love them, brother. I appreciate your call and the offer.
Yeah, I got a killer mango tree in my yard, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I appreciate the
Yeah,
invite.
it's beautiful
That's
here.
fine. It's fine.
It's a shame
Listen,
there's
no
so many
offense.
idiots here.
No offense to you. You sound like a really nice guy, but why can't I get like a hot chick to call into this show and say, "Hey, you can stay with me"? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Maybe you can.
I'm just kidding, my friend. I appreciate the phone call and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Some listeners, some PTL listeners out there in Florida that I appreciate you guys calling in, and I appreciate the support. I really do. I really do appreciate the support. Thank you so much. So I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I never thought we would get to this point in my lifetime. I never thought we would get to the point in my lifetime where the National Guard would be called out to attack a bunch of brown people. I never thought that in my lifetime we'd have a president that suggests slavery wasn't that bad, or restore monuments honoring Confederates. I never thought that in my lifetime we'd be renaming military bases to honor traitors who believed that it was simply a property right being taken away from them without just cause. You see, Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans want to go back 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. They think America was great when women weren't allowed to vote. They think America was great when black people were owned. Or perhaps they think America was great when black people had to sit in the back of the bus and they had to use different water fountains. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. That's not what makes America great. Let me tell you what makes America great. The land of the free and home of the brave. The fact that anybody from any different culture or background can come to this country, hopefully, and live the American dream, and to be able to get a job and provide for their families, and to be able to live in peace. That's what's made America great. In hopes that everybody can be treated as equals. And we know, sadly, in this country right now, that's not happening. We go back to Martin Luther King's speech, "I have a dream." That's what makes America great, when you don't look at somebody based on their sexuality or their skin color or their religion, that you treat everybody on character. To me, that's what makes America great, to give everybody a chance, a fighting chance, as Barack Obama said. But I look at where we are today as a society, and I look at where we are today as Donald Trump running the show, and I'm very worried. And I don't say that to gaslight all of you. I don't say that Because I don't say anything on the air that I don't truly believe. People can say whatever they want about me, and people can disagree with me. They can disagree with my style. They can disagree with my opinions. That's fine. But nobody could ever accuse me of saying something on the air that I don't truly believe, because nobody pays me to say anything. Okay? These are my beliefs. These are my opinions. And I'd like to think that I am fairly educated and informed. And nothing I say on or off the air is fake. And I'm very worried where we're at right now as a country. I'm worried about immigrants in this country that are worried that their families are going to be broken apart. I'm worried about those living paycheck to paycheck, those that are struggling to put food on the table, those that might be losing their medical coverage, might be losing their food assistance, people that are losing their jobs, tariffs that are costing American taxpayers and American consumers boatloads of money, some businesses that are shut down, prices that are going up. I'm worried. I'm worried that in way too many states in this country, women in this country do not have the right to choose what to do with their own bodies. I'm worried about that. And I'm worried about the fact that there's about 80 to 100 people in this country that own 99% of the wealth, property, while the rest of us, many of us, struggle. I'm worried that white supremacy is on the rise. I'm worried that right-wing fringe groups and violence is on the rise. I'm worried about social media. I'm worried about the misinformation that is put out there, mainly by the far-right idiots. I'm worried about incitement of violence. I'm worried that Donald Trump may never leave the White House. That he might, they're already selling hats that say Trump 2028. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about this dictatorship. I'm worried about this oligarchy. I am worried. I'm worried that we can see another insurrection. And I'm worried that in Washington, D.C., decency has gone out the window. And I'm worried that we are not in a time in our society where Republicans and Democrats could disagree civilly, have discussion, and meet somewhere in the middle to help the American people. I'm worried that those days are far behind us now because of Donald Trump. Yes, I do worry. I worry a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. Doing this show, sometimes I struggle to sleep because I think about so many of you out there that are struggling, that are suffering because of Donald Trump's policies and this administration. I worry for all of you because I do have a heart. I do have empathy. I do care about people, and I don't care what your sexuality is. I don't care what's between your legs. I don't care how much money you make. Even if you're a Republican, I don't care. And you should be worried too. So for those of you that are new to the show, thank you for being a part of PTL Nation. For any of you out there, thank you so much for everybody on the YouTube Super Chat today. I appreciate all of your generous donations. So this is independent media. I own my own show. This is what we do here. We are an independently owned radio show. So here's what I ask of all of you. Doesn't matter if it's $5, whatever you can afford. Any monthly payment, anything, even if it's a one-time payment. You go to my website. You see it right there? pushingthelimits.live. Make a donation. Help us out. Keep the lights on. We appreciate your support. Be interactive on my YouTube page. Have other people subscribe to my YouTube page. Subscribe to my page if you haven't already. We have 135,000+ subscribers, and it's growing. Subscribe to my YouTube page. Go to my website, pushingthelimits.live. That's the best thing you can do to support what we do here. And I love you guys. Please continue, because I'm going to continue as long as you guys are still here. Tomorrow to start the show, Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us. You're not going to want to miss that. My thanks to Matt Boyer for joining us. His new book out, of course, called Recalibrate. Check it out. It's on Amazon. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.